hi, Mikayla. It's really nice to meet you. It's really
like
cool.
so weird to meet you because I don't think you understand. Like, I was a #1 fangirl. Like, I found you when I think you were at like 20,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Ah,
So I was like
oh my
pretty
God.
early, and I remember I like showed you to my friends, and I was like, this girl has it going on. Like, she is so cool. And then it's like so cool to just, see where you've gone from there. And I was going through our DMs, and I had messaged you like, I think maybe like June of last year.
Did I
And then
reply? Because I try to reply, but I suck at managing DMs.
girl, you replied. And you just sent me this video of your face like super close up, and you were just like,
Oh, sorry.
no, it was amazing. And it's funny because like I do that to people too. Like I'll send
Okay,
like really, really funny messages back, and I just it was awesome.
It's great, isn't it? Like, it's great to hear back from like people that you don't really expect to hear back from, like your favorite artist or something like that. I remember like I started doing like sending little like snippets of videos to people, or at least like replying to people when I experienced the same thing myself. I was like obsessed with this artist called Nick Lang, and I just like sent him a DM saying like, "Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with your latest song." And he like I did not expect anything to like come back, but he sent me like a recording of like from his studio recording with his producer and stuff. And it was just like, oh my God, I am freaking out, and I made like 16 stories afterwards, like freaking out about it. So it's just great, isn't it? It's just great to hear back. I guess I don't. It doesn't always like lead to talking to people actually, like on like here what we're doing right now. But I was like, I checked out your profile. I don't know, like how I didn't check it out before. But then like, oh my gosh, your dances like ballet, and you're like, oh my God, I gotta talk to this girl. She's so cute. Yeah, so I was like, and I'm also like, I've been learning dancing as well. I'm like,
You're a
no.
dancer.
I'm like, I'm dancing. I'm just
Just
dancing.
dance. Come on.
Yeah, just dance. But it's like I'm not even like close to the level that you are at. But it's just great when it's such a massive inspiration when you see people just do stuff with their bodies, like in an almost impossible ways, like splits, for instance. Like I saw one of your videos where you were like doing one of these like split things where it's like, oh, like this angle, that angle, that angle, and then you just like go all the way to like beyond your head. It's like beyond the horizontal, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I know what video you're talking about, actually.
Yeah. How the hell do you know? How the hell do you like do those things?
Well,
Yes, please tell us. How do you do splits?
I never was that flexible, like in my younger ballet training. Like, normally people start to get really flexible when they're very young. Like, by the time you're 8, you're doing like your over splits. But for me, it came a little bit later because I actually went to like this Russian ballet boarding school that was funded by Korean cult money. But it was in Washington, D.C., and there they like break you and they really, really force you to stretch. So that's how I got flexible, because I was flexible before, but then I like really hit that like crazy flexibility after that.
So you basically got flexible from torture. I've seen like videos of people like crying, like with their dance instructors like literally sitting on either of their legs, like both sides of their legs, and it's just like, oh no, I can't. I mean, I've had times when people were like pushing me from behind, and like that alone I couldn't take. Let alone like having people actually sit on your body. Did you have people do that?
Okay, so that never happened to me, but there was this one teacher who was like, I was really scared of her. And I remember like some girls like didn't even have their splits in her class, and she would like make them put their leg on a chair and like go into over splits. But like if you don't have your splits, like that's really, really hard. And I just remember this one girl came out of that class like just bawling her eyes out because she was in so much pain.
Yes, it was the chair. I just remembered. It has to happen on a chair for
Yeah,
people
you
to
do it on
actually
a chair.
push you. Yes. I remember now. Man, can you do oversplits on a chair then? Can you do it?
So yeah, I like basically trained myself to be able to do that just because like it just felt like a standard thing at my school that you like needed to be able to do. So yeah, I remember I would like stay super late after class and come like an hour and a half before ballet class. And like this is like you train already in class so long. Oh. And I would just put my leg on the chair and just like sit there until I got it. Like I was actually insane.
That's great. I love that when you like obsess about this one thing and you just don't stop until you get it, you know? But man, when it comes to physical attributions like that, it's like beyond like levels of acquiring a skill like on a technical level, like, you know, like learning how to produce or like learning a language. I feel like pushing your physicality to a certain boundaries is like a completely different realm. In my personal opinion, I just feel like it's just I'm always in awe when I see like Olympians and stuff. So yeah, props for you to do that. Did you study ballet in school, like professionally then?
So I was like basically supposed to do ballet for a living, if that makes sense. So I went to this school, like, and my goal going in, I moved out when I was 14, went to school there in Washington, D.C., and I was like, I'm going to become a professional ballerina. Like, this is how it's going to happen. Whatever. I worked so hard because I, like, just naturally don't have that much talent in terms of, like, what you need for ballet. Like, my body's just not really right for it. So, yeah, I was, you know, grinding through school, and then basically my senior year, I, like, developed anorexia, and I honestly think I had, like, now that I can look back, I think I did have, like, different types of eating disorders before full-blown anorexia my senior year, but after that, it just got to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore because I'm, like, not a person anymore. Like, I need to, like, eat and, like, come back to life. Because, like, honestly, having an eating disorder as, like, other mental illnesses, I feel like just, like, sucks the soul out of you. Like, you just become such, like, a shell of a person. So I feel like for me, I needed to just, like, get healthy again. So I stopped dancing.
Oh, my gosh. Well, good for you. And you are still dancing. So it's like you got the best of both worlds now. If you don't mind talking a little more about, like, eating disorders, it's like I'm gonna come back with you to you with another like confession from mine as well. I actually suffer from anorexia as well.
Really? I didn't know that.
I know it's kind of like I think it takes people by surprise. It's not necessarily something that I often talk about, actually. I don't think I've ever even told my friends, like my close friends that I lived with and stuff. Not necessarily because I wanted to hide it or anything, but
it's hard.
It's hard, and it's something that I want to like sometimes forget about, and like I want to and it's like I don't know if this is like this with like other mental disorders like depression, but I feel like with eating disorders is like when you recover from them, it's almost like you have to change your personality, almost like your whole entirety of your kind of being. So having moved on from that stage of your life, which is having suffered from an anorexia, it's almost like you have to forget about that part of life in order to like fully move on. So I kind of like almost trained myself to not really talk about it and like just forget about it. But it does like come up oftentimes, especially when, you know, like when the subject obviously comes up like you just did. How did I think it's something,
How did that like kind of start for you, and how did you, you know, deal with it?
So this is really interesting because I want to ask you a question about this actually, because for me in my case I actually didn't know that what I was going through was anorexia and an eating disorder until I was well recovered from it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up how like how uneducated you can be growing up in Korea about these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot more awareness about the eating disorders in like the Western countries, and they have. Well, tell me if I'm wrong, but they have ample amount of, help available and resources available for people if they decide to seek help from it,
Mm-hmm.
and there's enough information out there for people to at least be aware if they're going through something that's not really normal. In my case, I had no idea what an eating disorder was. For me, it was like,
Wow.
Oh, okay, I'm don't want it. I don't want to eat, and I like being in control of like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically, like to give you a little, I'm all over the place. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
To give you a little background story, so I kind of had reached the peak of my disorder at like the final year of my high school.
Mm-hmm.
So like right before I went into college, and that year, that final year of high school, as I'm sure with like a lot of people across the globe, but especially for like Asian kids, is like the most stressful time of their lifetime. It's like the college
So much
entrance
pressure.
exams and stuff. Yeah, and it's like your parents are like, oh, you can't go to that school, you have to go to this school and stuff. So there's a lot of pressure, but also at the same time, grades aren't necessarily something that you can control. Like, especially in my case, I suck at exams. I sucked ass.
Mood.
I don't do well on exams. Like, no matter how many hours I put into like memorizing stuff, I always blank out when the time hits. So for me, especially like that final year was like super difficult, having so many things just out of control, but wanting to be in control. And I think I found a strange sense of like comfort in the fact that I could control something, and the results of that shows through my body getting emaciated day by day. And it's just such a fucked up thing to like get satisfaction from, but you can get strangely addicted to it, if you know what I mean.
I mean, I went through the exact same thing, so I like to an eerie, like it's like so eerie just hearing you talk about it, because I feel it. Like I really understand what that addiction feels like, because like when you're in the thick of it, like I just feel like too, when you start to get really emaciated, like it can just be so confusing. You like just don't even like have a grasp on reality, and you just have this one thing, which is like that control that you're addicted to, and you just hold on to that for like dear life.
Yeah. What was the story for you? Like, how did you kind of develop it and, kind of reach your peaks yourself?
Yeah. Oh, gosh. So, at my ballet school, like, obviously, it was ballet school. So there is, like, an expectation that your body does look a certain way. And, I just, like, I've never been, like, a stick girl. Like, I'm just very muscular. And, like, honestly, for me personally, like, I think that's what made my dancing really great, is because I was so strong. I could jump really high. I could do the turns. Like, and I was, like, always kind of proud of that. And I basically just never was able to get the lead roles because I was not, like, small enough, I guess.
Yeah. Well, like, not as as super thin like some ballerinas are.
Yeah, and, like, I just got pulled aside by my teacher, and she was like, we think you're really good, and like the teachers are thinking about casting you as like the lead role, but like you need to lose weight. And keep in mind, like, I was very close already, I think, to being underweight, if not underweight, when they like told me this. I think like really on the edge. Like, there was nothing wrong with my body even by like ballet standards. It's just like thin girls at my school were told they needed to lose weight. So it really hurt to be singled out like that. And then for me, as someone who's can be a little obsessive, and like I have, that like work ethic where it's just like anything, I will do anything for my dream, And from there it kind of just like spiraled out of control, and I ended up like not getting the part that year, which was my junior year, when I was like pulled aside. And then my senior year I came back, same thing as you, that senior year pressure of like, for me, instead of college, it was like ballet companies. And I was like, I need to get hired at a great ballet company, and like I am so tired of being passed up for parts because they're not happy with my body. Like, I know that I'm good enough. Like, I just wanted it so badly. So I came back to school and I just kind of stopped eating, and, you know, I just got praise from it. Like, all the teachers and everything kind of were just so happy and so proud of me. And, like, there was a lot of positive reinforcement, which was very confusing to me because then I didn't think I had a problem. Kind of similarly to you, what you were talking about. It's like, I just didn't think I had a problem because I'm like, well, you know, my freshman year of high school, my ballet teacher literally told us, she was like, ballerinas have 2 courses for lunch. The first course is tea. The second course is lemon. Like,
oh, I thought you were going to say, like, she was going to say air. Which would have been great.
No, not air, but basically same thing.
You can have air for dessert if you want.
Oh my gosh, only, you know, not too much air though. So, I mean, I feel like just all of these like confusing messages in my head just told me that I was okay when clearly like I just became less and less okay.
That is so messed up. How you were like praised, the more emaciated you probably got. So what do you think was like the point you were like, did you have any like external reinforcement that like you needed change, or was it like completely self-realization that you're like, oh, I don't want this anymore?
I feel like it was mainly external. Like, I mean, it got to the point too where like my ballet teacher pulled me aside when I was like obviously like falling over because I just couldn't even stand on my TV. And she was like, oh, like, are you eating? And I just nodded my head. She was like, okay. And then just like, don't lose any more weight, but like, don't gain. I was like, what? So that happened, which I feel like maybe kind of woke me up a little bit. And I was like, all right, like, I'm good now. Like, I don't need to keep going with this. But it made me want to keep going even more because I was so scared of gaining weight because she said that. But then after a couple months went by and I was sitting across from like one of the youngest girls at school. Like, I don't even think this girl was in high school yet. And she looks at me and she was like, Mikayla, you're so pretty, you're so skinny, the teachers love you, you're so good at ballet, like, I want to be just like you. And in that moment, I was just like, I hate myself. I can keep doing this to myself all day, every day. Like, I literally don't care about myself at all. But, like, I cannot do this to these young girls who are looking up to me and think that I'm fine. Because deep down, I knew I wasn't fine. So I literally packed my bags the next day and just yeeted out of there. Yeah. And I thought I was going home for a week because I still thought I was fine. I was like, oh, I just need, like, a little bit of, like, a break. A little rest, and I'll come back to school, finish off the school year. Didn't happen. I literally, I just stayed at home.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Like how you said you're so scared of gaining back the weight. It's like, I mean, I guess we're kind of moving around subjects in the sense that I'm kind of like mentioning like body image as well. Because like, I know I said control, like the ability to control something, and the result of that showing was probably the main reason why I got the high of eating disorder. But I think there's also that element of like body image underneath it somewhere. I think there's multiple different things going on. It's not just one singular reason and one singular cause. And like for me, I had a similar experience actually in my childhood actually where I took like random like hip hop lessons and stuff when I was a kid. I can't do hip hop now, but I remember like, cause a lot of the like dance schools, not schools, but like dance academies, we have tons of them here for like amateurs. But like a lot of the people who go to these classes are people who want to be like K-pop stars and K-pop trainees. And like they hold I mean body standards for that kind of side of the world is like probably as crazy as like the ballerina world. But I remember I was like I was always there for like the, you know, like the fun of it. But then one of the dance the dance teacher was like, I think I might like I'll be able to like put you into like one of these auditions for like one of the big 3 like companies or something. But you need to lose some weight because you're chubby as fuck.
As a child?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like a little girl, but I was like in middle school, I think. But
oh my gosh.
But the thing about that is like I solely believe that was true. You know, I was
kid,
like,
of course.
Yeah, it's like it's like I don't question it. It's like, oh, okay, I gotta get skinny. But that wasn't really the start of it. I think, you know, multiple occasions like these kind of build up over time to kind of almost create this subconscious idea in your head that, oh, I'm not thin enough. I'm not fit enough. I'm not something enough. So therefore I gotta do this in order to like become better, become prettier, become more beautiful. So probably that was probably one of the reasons why I also fell into that rabbit hole as well. I mean, not rabbit hole, but like pitfall, really.
It's so crazy how, you know, those like little comments can take someone 5 seconds for them to say, but it sticks with you for like the rest of your life.
I mean, you also mentioned just now like the physical effects of going through anorexia. There's nothing to gain from this. Nothing. And I can relate to the energy levels as well. Like you say you couldn't move. I remember this one time, so like in the last year of my high school when I was like at the peak of my eating disorder, they did this thing in PE class where they measured like how fast you can run. And I was literally like after like 5 seconds of running, and I was like literally like behind everyone else. It's also the thing where like I never recovered from it as well in terms of my physical stamina. I'm like right now my energy levels are like down here. I don't think it ever like recovered fully back to when I was like at a normal weight, at a normal whatever. What about you? Are you feeling energetic now that you're like okay, hopefully?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been like maybe 5 years since I recovered, or maybe like 4 or 5, I'm not sure the exact. So I think like energy-wise, I honestly recovered really quickly because I gained weight in recovery very quickly.
Really?
Because
Did you enjoy it? Or
no,
was it like
no. I was so angry that I was, because in my head still like I still actually hadn't accepted that I had an eating disorder, even though I was in anorexia treatment. I still was like, I don't have an eating disorder because my ballet teachers think that my body looks good. And then I also was, the only like scope of the world that I really knew at that point was just this ballet boarding school. So I kind of just thought like, if I gain weight, everyone's gonna think I'm like disgusting because I know that's what they would think. And like, you know, just all this weird like psychological stuff that I had to really go through. And like, it was so much letting go. And I think also just like grieving my old body, and then also grieving my loss of dance, because during that time I also like lost dance. Like I couldn't dance anymore, like because I needed a break. Like just physically it wasn't healthy for me to exercise at that point in time. So yeah, that was just really, really hard for me, and I really struggled with hating my body for like a bit there. And then I went to college, and I think that's when things kind of turned around, when I realized that even though I think I gained like 40 pounds in like 6 months or something.
Hell yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And I went to college, and I was like, oh my gosh, like everyone's going to hate me for some, you know, like just weird leftover like trauma stuff. And that was, no one cared. Like, literally no one cares. No one cares. I would eat like food with people at like 2 a.m. and no one cared. And there weren't people, just because, you know, when you're only around ballet dancers, like there's those sneaky comments that are like, oh, like we're being so bad right now, like we shouldn't be eating this. Like literally no one cared. Like people didn't care. And I think for me, having the permission for like my brain to be what was exciting about me rather than my body and the way I danced, just for like a change of pace, was awesome. Like, I was in business school, and I really was able to expand that aspect of myself rather than just always being so focused on my body, and that really allowed me that time to heal. And eventually it just kind of got to the point where it's like, I don't really like think about those really toxic thoughts anymore, if that makes sense.
Oh my gosh, that's great. That's really great to hear. Honestly, it does. Do you think you have a pretty healthy body image now then? Fairly?
I like to think,
well, good.
I like to think that I'm like pretty neutral. Like I just try to like not judge my body as good or bad. It just is.
Yes.
And like that's the extent of thought that I want to put on my body. Like for me, especially since quarantine, like I was working out a lot more before, and it was actually really beautiful. Like during quarantine, I kind of just let myself like not really exercise too much and just rest. I ate whatever I wanted, and like for me, there was like something so healing in that, just like letting myself be. And I think now I'm kind of just chilling, and like, you know, my body is gonna go through phases as I go through life, and that's normal, that's healthy, and that's okay. Like, because now I think I finally am at the point where I can find value in myself besides my body and the way that I look. Like, that is literally the least interesting thing about me. And I always try to keep that perspective so that I can have freedom and room in my mind to like be a good person to other people and focus on that rather than like, well.
Good for you. Good for you. Oh my gosh. I am. You go, girl. That's great. I mean, I think you pointed out something really important there, how you're kind of neutral, and it's kind of, you know, the thing about like body positivity, quote air quotes, is that I think when people talk about like body positivity, they think about like, oh, loving my body unconditionally and like like just loving every single aspect of it, no matter what shape or form I'm in. But I think that can sometimes be a little bit intimidating for some people who are trying to work out like their self, you know, their relationship with themselves, because it's like it's so hard to like come from like a background of like hating every single aspect of my body to like loving every single aspect of my body. And I think I truly believe the healthiest body image is to just be okay with whatever it is. And it doesn't mean you have to love every single like part of your body. You can notice things that you don't really like about it, but kind of be okay with it, if you know what I mean. Like, I have like belly flaps that I hate it folding. Like, I don't like it. I just don't. And it's probably like that has something to do with an unhealthy body image or whatnot. But I think the biggest difference between like not liking a certain part of my body from when I was suffering from anorexia to when I like how I am now is that I'm actually kind of fine with it. Like, I don't like it, but I'm okay with it being there if it means I can have an extra slice of pizza tonight, you know? So yeah, I think just letting it be. But I wouldn't say that I'm like oh, I love myself. I love my body. Like, oh, I want to show it to everybody. Like, I still feel like really self-conscious when I like wear bikinis or like shorts and stuff. Do you feel that way, or do you like clothes? Do you like clothes? Do you like?
I like clothes. I wear a lot of the same clothes just because I hate spending money.
Oh yeah.
But I honestly like went through that so much, and I think I'm getting to a better point. But I feel that like even there, it's like, especially with eating disorders too, I feel like sometimes the whisper is there and you just have to like quiet the whisper, like the whisper telling me like, oh, like you're gonna wear that, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's become a lot more quiet. But I just remember like the first time that I wore a bathing suit after, like, gaining a lot of weight really fast was, like, probably one of the, like, scariest moments. And it's, like, kind of hard, too, because sometimes I feel like my experience is invalidated because people will say, like, oh, well, you were never that big. But, like, when you just have such an extreme body change in such a short period of time, like, it can still be really scary. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things where it's like, yes, sometimes it'll have that little whisper, but I think I try to, like, calm the waters and, like, quiet it a little bit.
It takes a lot of effort for me to do that, but I do think that's really worth the effort in the long run, right?
What like helps you, like, find that peace within yourself and, like, quiet that, like, noise that, you know, like, it's not even you, it's just, like, this, like, negative energy. Like,
I was actually just gonna say, funnily enough, I was talking about this with my sister yesterday, because basically I did, like, a shooting for a music video yesterday, like, on my rooftop again. And
I love your rooftop video.
It's great. I never really thought that I would shoot anything significant there, like, for music videos and stuff, but it's fun. But yesterday was, like, the weather was just boiling hot. So when I got back downstairs to get changed and stuff, I was, like, literally soaked in sweat. Like, it looked like I just taken a shower, but it was in sweat. And I just got this, like, little, like, mini epiphany where right now, like, so I got changed into this, like, t-shirt, and I wasn't wearing a bra because, like, obviously wearing a bra when you're sweating is the grossest feeling ever. Yeah. And I was, like, I just got into a t-shirt, and I wasn't wearing a bra, and you know, like, how sometimes, like, nipples show when you wear, like, without a bra? It was doing that. It was doing that, but then I was, like, craving ice cream all of a sudden, so I was like, oh, I want to get some ice cream. And my sister was like, your nipples are literally, like, protruding like crazy right now. And, like, in Korea, it's, like, not very ethical for some reason to, like, show your nipples. Yeah, no. Like, if you're female especially, it's just like, no, don't show your nipples. You can't, like, no. It has to be tucked in, has to be flat as fuck, and you can't be showing it. So it's like my sister's kind of inhabited that mindset as well, which is okay, like the Korean culture, I guess. But then I was like, normally I would have been like, oh, fine, okay, I'll just wear a bra. But then, like, yesterday, because I was so exhausted and I was, like, just sweating and I was just so completely, like, worn out that I didn't care. And I think the epiphany was that, like, sometimes you gotta, like, push yourself to a point where you don't care, like, about wherever body part you're showing. And I sometimes experience this, like, when I go to the beach. I would wear, like, a bikini where I would, like, come out first, like, having changed, and I haven't gotten into the water yet. In the first 10 minutes, I would be like, oh, God, like, I think people are staring at me. Like, I think people can, like, see my stretch marks and stuff. And then, like, I would go into the sea, and I would get swept away, like, by waves and shit. And after, like, 20 minutes, I wouldn't care, because I wouldn't care if my bra, literally, like, my bra top of my bikini would just, like, fly away, and I would have to walk out of the beach, like bare breasts. Because I think sometimes there's this, like, beautiful thing about, like, if your mind is occupied, like, so much so in something else, then it just won't care about the other things. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh. I feel that on such a level, because I feel like when I was going through anorexia, and maybe, like, a little bit even after, during, like, that initial recovery process, like, I couldn't think about anything. Like, I feel like I didn't have any mental space in my head to, like, grow as a person or, like, do anything besides, like, the activities of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was just so in that, like, mindset and so focused on that one thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like as I've recovered, like, I can actually do things. No one cares.
That's the, like, how to, like, that sums it up. Like, no one cares if your nipples show. People might stare, but they stare because like they're embarrassed, they stare because they have their own like mindsets about like nipples showing or whatever showing. As long as you're not causing like public, I don't know, mayhem or anything, it's fine. No one cares. No one really cares. And I think that's something like that I try to remind myself, like no one really cares about you as much as you think they do.
Right? Like, okay, so speaking of like overthinkers, I'm such an overthinker, and I literally, like, if I just have like a little bit of like a slightly strange interaction with someone, I like think about it like so much. I'm just like, oh, but what if they like think this about me? Oh my gosh, they like hate me. Like, no, like I just like, should I text them? Should I not text them? Like, are we good? Like, no, like.
You would think about this like one sentence that you said in an hour-long conversation, and you would literally like genuinely consider sending a text about apologizing, like for what
am I apologizing for? Like, I don't know. And I feel like I used to think like that even with like if someone would look at me a certain way when I was really self-conscious about my body, like it was the same thing. I would just think about it and think about it again and think about, did they think that I like look different today, or like have I like and it's just like no one is doing that. And if they are, like, that's kind of weird. Like, people don't actually do that because we're all so concerned about like ourselves that we don't even like.
It's crazy how self-centered and egotistical that we can all be sometimes.
It really it can be kind of crazy, but
no, I feel 100% on that. I think that's the thing where, like, you just mentioned how, first of all, no one really cares about that one word or that one thing that you said. But second of all, if there is somebody who actually does give you some hate or doesn't, like, changes their mind about you or becomes hostile to you for some reason because of that one single thing, then it's that person is probably not worth having in your life anyway, you know? That's what I try to, train myself to think sometimes. Like, oh, you don't like me for that? Okay, who cares? Like, I own every single word that I say, so I don't care, you know?
I feel that.
Haters gonna hate.
Totally. And I think, like, being a little bit more on the internet, I almost feel like I had to, like, relearn that skill because it's completely different when, like, random people on the internet are like saying super, super mean things to you. Like at first when I got that, I was like, huh?
Really? What? Do you mind? Like,
I think just people being
sharing.
Like, oh, like, you're trash, this is trash. And I think, I don't know, like, I don't know, just mean stuff. Like, people
that ain't nice.
People just say mean things. Sometimes I get mean DMs, and like, I think I was lucky enough to like grow really fast, but with that came viral videos, and when you get a viral video, in my experience on Instagram, like there are just gonna be a couple mean comments, and it almost took like relearning that skill because I feel like I was starting to get better at it in real life, and then once it was online, like I didn't know how to deal with like this random criticism for no apparent reason that was kind of like unwarranted, because I like to be open and like take constructive feedback, but then at the same time, like there is a point where someone's just kind of hating, and like I'm like, what did I do to you? But I think you just have to realize like some people just like spreading negativity on the internet, and like that's okay. You can just take a step away from that, and like just you really have to be okay with yourself first, I think, to not let that one negative comment ruin your day when there were like 1,000 nice ones, you know?
I mean, it's so easy, though, to, like, just remember the bad bits, like, the bad dramatic bits. It's so much easier to remember those kind of little things than, like, the majority of the other positive things. I don't know why that's how the brain works, or at least mine. I don't know if it's like you, but if yours is like that. But I tend to remember, like, the bad bits more. You know, I always ask people, like, are you somebody who, if you think about somebody in your life, you think about the good memories first or you think about the bad memories first. And that's probably like, actually that might not be a good example because it's like it depends on the person probably. If you're having a good relationship with that person, then you're probably gonna think, I
guess, how it ended.
But what I meant to say is like I'm usually the person who's like, I hate drama basically.
Me too.
And when there is drama, I can't stop thinking about it. I get so anxious about it. So, I mean, I don't know what point that I'm trying to come to, but it's difficult. It's difficult because that's kind of your personality. That kind of personality has set in your main database, and it's almost like trying to, like you said, retraining your brain to like be a little bit different for your own sanity.
Yeah, I think like I've really realized this about myself through like doing more stuff on the internet and just like putting myself out there more. Is like I have a people pleasing problem. And like I've talked about it a lot in therapy because like, and I think it comes from ballet, like really wanting to please my teachers and like that kind of stuff. And yeah, I just need to like let go and just know that I'm enough for myself and like the people who are close to me in my life, and just like know that I'm enough just the way I am, what I'm doing. And like I think those things are like ideas that I always try to like come back to when I'm going through those like micro freakouts. I like see a comment, I'm like, look, I'm a horrible person. It's like, no, I'm not.
No, you're not. Well, do you watch YouTube much, or are you like a Netflix person? Are you like a YouTube person or a TikTok person?
I'm such like a YouTube person.
Okay. Okay, we're on the same page here.
I mean, I found you. Of course, I'm a YouTube person. And I love YouTube, and I just got into Twitch because I just started streaming on Twitch.
Oh,
so I've like recently like started watching some Twitch too.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely like give me all the links that you want me to put for people to find you, to add. But I was gonna ask, like, if you know ProZD by any chance.
I don't think I've heard of them.
So there's this YouTuber called ProZD, and he's Korean American guy who's like a voice actor. Like that's his main thing. But he does YouTube on the side, like doing stuff that he likes. And those stuff are like just all over the place. He does like he's a massive like board game enthusiast. So he like does board game reviews, and then like he would upload a board game review on one day, and the next day he would just like all of a sudden try like 15 different Oreo flavors, and then the next day he would do like just have a random podcast with like one of his friends. And he just like does all like and he does like also like 5-second skits as well, which like he kind of like he had his like Vine days as well, you know. But like it's just kind of all over the place. And I've recently started listening to his podcast where I got to hear like some of his thoughts behind like why his YouTube channel, why he keeps his YouTube channel so miscellaneous. And he's like, basically he's like, I don't give a fuck. And it's like, I don't give a fuck because I either enjoy what I do in that video or I'm proud of it. So it's like that's the only two qualifications he needs to figure out if he's going to post something or do something online. And that results in like just being all over the place. And I dare say he's like my all-time favorite, one of my all-time favorite YouTubers, because I look up to that quality. I'm not a massive like board game fan even. He always talks about One Piece, and I've never even watched One Piece, but I love it because it's like he doesn't care. He doesn't give a fuck. And I just really look up to that. So I don't know like if there's any like specific videos that I want to recommend from ProZD, but just like looking at how miscellaneous and just all over the place he can be on his channel is I find massively inspiring.
I love that because I feel like I'm such an overthinker, and I've like struggled with this a lot with music, because that's actually how I like got into social media to start, was like through music, and one of my songs got picked up by the Spotify algorithm. And like literally just this past year, it's just been so hard to put out music because I like am like, oh well, do I need to find like a niche within music? Like I'll just like think about all the like, oh, is this the right artistic choice? You know, like that kind of stuff. And same with like content as well. Like I don't post on my YouTube channel because I don't know what to make, because I'm worried like, oh, since I have like a music channel, it's like weird if I make more like
vlogs
lifestyle content. Yes, oh my gosh. And I feel like that with Instagram too. I dance on Instagram. I should only dance. I shouldn't like sing on Instagram. Like, oh my gosh, it's just like, I think that's so cool that you mentioned that, because I think that's honestly something that really like speaks to me, because that's the kind of energy that I'm trying to like foster in my life, is just more freedom to just do and have fun. Like we make content, music, whatever, because we like doing it. Like that's at least how I got started, at least. Like I just thought it was fun. Like it, you know what I mean? It can get very like cerebral sometimes when it doesn't need to.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are like certain things you can't just go like to the Wild West and just like, oh, I'm just gonna strip in front of like thousands of people. Like I don't think you're the kind of person who would enjoy it anyways. But like even like ProZD also like goes into like the fact that if he went like all out and never really cared about anything, he would be in trouble, because that, you know, that's probably like that's part of his job as well, to keep people entertained and, you know, provide content for people. But he's like, I try to find the balance and between like my own enjoyment and giving other viewers enjoyment. And for me personally, like I feel you 100%. I'm a people pleaser as well, and I find myself being like asking these questions like, oh, I think I'm going to have fun making this, but people probably might not enjoy it, or should I post this? Should I not post this? Or, oh, what if this fucks up the algorithm? And what if it just like, and I literally like think about this every single day, and I'm not immune to that. And I think sometimes you just have to listen to your intuition and like, just go for it. And also, like, again, remind yourself that nobody really cares. So, you know,
no, it's totally.
You know how there's a saying in Korea where, well, I guess there's an equivalent in English where it's like oblivion is blissful oblivion, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance.
Oh, no, ignorance is bliss.
Well, no, that's actually not what I was trying to say. Basically, in Korea, where it's like forgetfulness is the greatest blessing from God, because imagine if you like remembered every single shame, like embarrassment, every single moments of embarrassment, and like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done this, or like, oh, that would be a very exhausting life. But in reality, you're just gonna forget about a lot of the things that you did in the past. So I think for me, my motto is like, as long as I'm not hurting people, as long as I'm not intentionally being hostile or like causing any sort of negativity, then I'm free to do whatever I want. And if it doesn't work out, it's going to be in the past soon. You know, maybe you might want it to like go time to fly past quickly, like just, I want to forget about this. I really want to forget about this. But if you wait it out, it's going to get easier, and it's all going to be in the past. And I probably have a lot of the posts that I did in the past that I have already forgotten. But at the time, I was like, shit, I shouldn't have done this. I kind of think this kind of flopped, you know? Flopped, not flopped.
Okay, so I like have this weird theory about that, because like my first video that went like okay and stuff was the video that I was like, I texted my friend and I'm like, are you sure like this is a bad idea, right? Like this is like, because it was different. That's what worked. Like literally, I think the videos that I'm most unsure about are normally the videos that perform really well. Isn't that a weird phenomenon? Like I swear that's a thing. I don't know why it is.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. Like, we try to, like, figure out things, like, so many things in advance that we think, like, if we do something that's kind of out of the norm and not as planned, then it's not going to perform well. Yeah. But in reality, if you just let your intuition do its thing, it's like, oh, it's like telling me to like just do it, just do it, just do it. Just follow it instead of like letting your rationality tell you otherwise. To be like, you know, I read a really cool quote the other day where it's like, you miss 100% of the chance that you don't take. Something like that.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. And I think that's so true. Like, you don't know until you try it.
Totally. Like,
and sometimes I'm like, oh, what if it like hurts my algorithm and stuff? But it's like, oh, do I really care? You know?
I think about it now as like, if I post a video and like one person sees it, maybe it's my mom. It's probably my mom. But if one person sees it and like it makes my mom's day, like that in itself is powerful. Maybe maybe you're like worst performing by normal standards performing video. Like it really, really helps someone in some way. Like that's their favorite video. Even though like maybe only like a couple other people have seen it. So I always try to like step away from that like algorithm brain, because I have the same thing where I'm like, oh my gosh, my algorithm, like it's gonna mess with my algorithm, like because I'm a very like analytical thinker. Like I went to business school, like I look at my metrics a lot, and like I look at performance, I look at all those different like analytical tools. But then I try to step away and not be mad at myself if something doesn't do as well as I thought I would, because I try to be like proud of like, you know what, like Sue, you put a video out today, like that's awesome. Like no matter how it does, or like no matter how people receive it, I don't know, that's like been kind of a mindset shift that I've been trying to make, just so I can be more consistent. Because what causes me to stop being consistent is my brain telling me like, you're horrible, like everything you make isn't good,
it's not good enough. It's not suitable or whatever, or
like it's gonna ruin the algorithm.
Yes. You know, that I think that's the beautiful thing about being an artist, is that by definition, by being an artist, by being spontaneous and by following your intuition and doing whatever the fuck you feel like doing, that becomes your business, you know? Whereas like if you're like, I don't know, an analyst, or like I don't know what jobs are there out there
you don't need to.
No. For those people, it's their job to like be analytical and be rational and be calculative. But for artists, it's actually better to go the opposite way, where you're following your intuition as much as possible. And the more you do that, the more you're likely to probably succeed. And the more, you know, the more likely you're gonna, I don't want to say recognition, because it almost puts like value into like how people view you, instead of how you feel, how much dignity you have about your work. But like, you know what I mean? It's like it's our job to be spontaneous. So to do otherwise, it's almost like we're not doing our jobs well. So it's almost like it's almost like playing with your analytical mind in that like, oh, you kind of have to force yourself to be intuitive, because otherwise you're not doing your job well as an artist. So maybe that kind of rational like thinking is it works for people like us, where it's like, if you have to think about things in a rational way, then you might as well think about it this way. You gotta be creative. You gotta try new things. That's your job. So do your job well, instead of like taking the safe route and like, oh, it's not the right equation. It's not the right. It's not the right.
I relate to that.
It's not
so
the
much.
right genre, because it's too saturated. You know,
yes.
like those kind of things. Have you like? I remember. I don't know if you've ever had this dilemma when you started music, but for me, genre was like a massive concern for me. when I started. I was like, oh, how do I define my genre? Should I make it lo-fi? Should I make it bedroom indie? Should I make it indie? Should I make it pop? Should I make it hip hop? You know, did you have that concern as well, or do you have that concern as well?
So I feel like it's kind of weird. That came after for me because my first song that I put out, it was like literally nothing. Like I just happened to go through a heartbreak. And honestly, like I don't even think I've ever said this before or like admitted this to myself. It's kind of embarrassing.
You don't have to say it if you don't want to.
No. I think it's funny.
Okay.
I'm you know what? I'm working on that quality of being unembarrassable, so it's all good.
Go own it.
I literally feel like I wanted this song to be produced and on Spotify just to be like, don't you miss me? Like look at me. I do all the things, you know, whatever. Yeah. Like I literally feel like I was just being petty. This was just me being very petty. So anyways, I literally like, I'm a dancer, never was into music, and then I just randomly like wrote this song and I was like, I'm gonna get it produced and hopefully like he'll listen to it because he follows me on social media. And I just texted everyone I knew and then found someone in town who like would produce it for free and I was like, cool. And then I just put it out. Like there wasn't really any thought at all put into it. There was literally no thought. It was all just like,
it's a cathartic experience. Oh, I'm gonna write this dumping letter as a song. And I'm gonna put it out there to the universe.
So he knows how I feel because I'm too scared to actually tell him.
No, but it's like a beautiful way. It's like almost I feel you. I mean, that's what love songs are all about. That's what songs are all about. It's turning whatever that would be pretty boring otherwise into something that's pretty exciting to share and like listen to, you know?
Yeah, so there was no genre, and then I think after that, like I kind of just wasn't even thinking about music. I was just trying to like survive college because I was doing 2 majors at the same time because I started dancing again halfway through college. So I was in like 2 of the really hard programs at my school, so I was like dying, just not sleeping, you know, all that stuff. And then I was like, oh, like honestly, like I really like music and like people are actually listening to my song and they like it. Like that's so weird. Like I just wrote this so my mom could listen to it and hopefully that guy. So he did listen to it. Sorry, I'm just laughing.
It's okay.
I'm not embarrassed.
In your face! You listened to that song that I wrote, you!
No, it's just funny because we actually like ended up dating afterwards.
Oh!
That's why I'm laughing.
What a twist.
Such a twist. So I honestly think it was the song, you know, that like made all this happen. I manifested it through the song. But yeah, then afterwards I kind of went through this crisis of like, oh my gosh, like I just wrote this song, but now like how do people write songs? Because like then it started me overthinking the whole songwriting and music production process because it literally, I feel like I just got lucky and like it just happened, and then I'm like trying to figure out how to like recreate that without trying to recreate that, if that makes any sense.
Trying to like find your style basically.
When I don't know anything about music or songwriting, it's just like something was on my heart and I put it out. Like I think that can be kind of difficult sometimes.
Do you still like have that concern and dilemma? Are you still on that journey of like finding your style or trying to find your style?
Of course, yeah. I think I'm 100% there, and also just finding your style is such a hard thing too because I feel like as an artist, I always want to give myself like permission to evolve and do other things. And again, with that people-pleasing thing, like with my music at least, like I always want to make music for me that I am proud of instead of like trying to fit some mold or genre, kind of like what you were talking about, like you were struggling to be like indie pop or like you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff, because I feel like I felt that, and now I've tried to take a little bit of a step back and just see like I want to make what I want to make, and people might hate it, that's cool. Like if people hate it, that's cool because I tried. And I put something out that I at the time at least was excited about, so
that's good. I think that's really the best genre, like the genre, like the style of music that you enjoy creating, no matter what kind of how it sounds at that moment, and no matter how different it sounds from your previous ones, as long as you think it's right at the time of creating that song, then that's the right way. And also for me, it's like that element of fun needs to be there when I'm like making music.
It looks fun.
It's fun, and I frankly have to remind myself to have fun sometimes. It can turn into like, I can easily turn like just go 180 and be like, oh, this is work. Like, oh, it's work. I don't want to do it, because as soon as it becomes work, as soon as you're conscious that you're working, then it just takes the fun out of it. And there are a few artists, there are a few songs that I sometimes refer back to whenever I find myself like getting too caught up in the rules and like the strategies or like the genres or the definition of what something is. And those kinds of songs I listen to, and it's like you can tell that person who was making that song was having a blast. Like you can tell, you can like literally hear it. You can see their progress, their process of making the song and be like having a blast. Like one track, for instance, do you know Joji?
Of course.
Yes, I love Joji.
I've seen your Joji covers.
like so many of them. Literally, like the majority of my covers are Joji covers. But like in his latest album, there's a song called Pretty Boy, and it was like he released like prior to the full song coming out, he released like a little like snippet of it, and it was great. It was great. I love the song, and I did like a cover of it before like the full version came out in the album. And when the full version came out in the album, it just took me so much by surprise, because like the other half of the song became like this like it's just like crazy. It just turns into a completely different song almost. And the latter half of it was actually my favorite part, because if you listen to it, you can tell that he was having a lot of fun with it. So those kinds of songs that are the things that I try to like just refer back to as much as possible, and remind myself that just have fun. Just have fun. That's why you started in the first place, to have fun, and not sit behind a desk all day long and kissing people's ass. And I hate that. I mean, I know some people thrive in it, but for me, it's not my thing. It's not my thing to like I like stifle my creativity for somebody else, or have to meet other people's needs and use my creativity for that instead of myself,
I mean, I think that's like the beautiful thing about being an independent artist as well, is like, you have a lot more of that freedom, or like getting signed to a label that just, up front is kind of like, you do whatever you want. We just think what you're doing is cool. Which I think can be really hard to find, because, I mean, and even what you're talking about earlier, like, I think you were kind of referring to, like, the corporate route in life, and it's, like, weird hearing you talk about that, because I sometimes I forget, like, that almost was my life. Like, I was on that path. I was in business school. Like, I was going to the job fairs. I did internships. Like,
job fairs. Freaking hell.
I literally, like, felt like
triggers my anxiety just by thinking about it.
My soul was, like, dying. Like, I literally just, like, I think when you're a creative, it can just be so hard to not do creative things. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but oh my gosh, I was struggling.
It's soul sucking when you're, like, I was fortunately, like, I decided to do graphic design and advertising, which was cool. Like, I felt like it was a compromise, though. It was a compromise, basically, of the fact, it was like it was a way to hide my desire to, like, actually be an artist. I've always wanted to be an artist, I think, deep inside, but I think I almost, like, stopped myself because, like, oh, you can't make a living out of being an artist, or you gotta make some sort of you gotta make amends, and you gotta meet people halfway and be realistic.
Oh my gosh, that's hard to temper those two things, right?
So I think my experience in corporate life was still, to a certain extent, creative, but it still wasn't satisfying enough in the sense that I was using my creativity to satisfy other people. It just didn't help. It was, might as well just have been like a business corporate life or whatever, because it's not fulfilling. It wasn't fulfilling for me.
I think that's like the challenge, right? Like, because as an artist, like, it's very hard, to make a living, or so people, say, but now there are so many different ways you can go about doing it. A lot of it is just going out and doing it. And I know too, it can be hard, people graduate college and they have student loan debts. They they have to pay off their debt, and they go the corporate route because that's like what's available to them. So I always am so grateful that I was able to take this past year and just start diving into what I actually care about, and even for myself figuring out, what do I actually care about? What do I love doing? What am I super passionate about besides dance, and how can I kind of combine all of those passions, like dance, music, all that kind of stuff, into my life? How can I make my life, my work?
Yeah. Well, what's your kind of plan moving forward? What's the plan?
That's a great question. So I'm moving, which will be exciting. I'm moving to Austin, Texas.
What's, if you don't mind me asking, is that a personal reason, or for work reasons, or just you wanted to move to Texas, or?
So right now, I'm in Bloomington, Indiana. So kind of anywhere would probably be a little.
Is it quite remote?
It's a college town, so.
Oh right.
It's not really quite what I probably need right now, and.
Yeah.
I just have heard amazing things about Austin and the music scene there, and a lot of my friends are moving to Austin, so it kind of just seemed like a good move, and I'm excited to just go there. I'm hoping, to keep going with my Instagram content, and hopefully start making more YouTube content and Twitch, and then just focusing on creating more passive income streams and more of that kind of monetization, just so I can really just focus on the work, and then hopefully find some sort of management or something like that, just because right now I literally do everything, which can be a lot of work sometimes.
It can be, I feel you. I mean, man, I don't know what else to say other than I wish you the bestest of the bestest luck in everything.
Thank you.
My goodness, I really hope to visit Austin as well, because I know one person in Austin, which is a lot for me.
That's a person. That's a whole person.
That's a lot. That's a lot of thing. I have one acquaintance in Austin, but I've heard so many good things about Texas, and I'd love to visit someday, and hopefully I'll be able to see you when I visit Texas and Austin.
That would be amazing. Or if I, come to Korea, maybe.
Yeah.
I would love to go to Korea.
I think you're gonna love it here. You're gonna love it. I mean, the food, man. I don't know if you enjoy clubs much, but they've got great clubs apparently. I like dancing. I like dancing. I just don't like being in a crowded club, sniffing at other people's armpits. That's what I don't like about.
Yeah, that's where I kind of draw the line, and I'm just maybe that's not my vibe. But I've been loving I like going out and salsa dancing. That's my clubbing experience of choice, I guess.
What is it?
Salsa dancing.
Salsa dancing. Ooh, I can see you doing that. I can see you doing salsa dance.
Yeah,
it's cool. I mean, you're a dancer, so you can probably pull off anything.
No. You're gonna have to teach me that hip hop that you learned when you were
No, you got nothing to learn from me. Okay, it's. Thank you so much, Mikayla, for coming. You're always welcome back. We can have another ramble. We can have another overthinking session. Sometimes I feel like this hour-long sessions are just not enough. And I could just go on forever. So thank you so much.
How long have we been talking? Oh,
I think we've been talking for a little over an hour.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, we can just go on. Like I've been thinking a lot about how to end the podcast because I don't want to just like cut.
Yeah, it's
but
hard.
I also don't want to be like bye and then just hang up, you know.
Yeah.
So maybe you can just do a little thumbs up and call it a day. I think this is the first time I'm doing this. First time I'm ever trying this. So don't. I mean, it's gonna get awkward. I know.
I think if we both do it, it's not weird.
Yeah, I know. Okay, on 3.
Thank you for having me, Sue.
Thank you for coming. 3, 2, 1.